When you create a web app, you need to put that web app in a web plan. And the web plan really is a billing and pricing tier plan, and that's really the purpose of it. I create a plan, and I can put multiple web apps in that plan, all subject to the same pricing and performance characteristics. And at the time of this recording, there are actually 5 different plans or 5 different tiers that you can work with. And we have them listed here, and this is very broad. One of the things that you'll want to do when you are deciding that you want to host in the Azure environment is you want to look at a detailed level, and Microsoft documents this at a detailed level, at what the different tiers provide. And it would make no sense to do the detailed level now because they tend to expand this. And oftentimes, for example, something that starts out as being only available at the standard and above layer ends up being available across all of the layers. So, make sure when you're implementing your web apps that you get the right plan. You can always change the plan. Also, periodically, even if your web app is in production, check the different plan tiers to see if things have changed, and you may get what you need, possibly in a less expensive tier. All right, let's take a look at the broad picture of what these different tiers are. And you'll notice, of course, I've got a colored line here that's differentiating, and if we kind of draw the line there, okay, the free and the shared. Free is exactly what it sounds like. It actually doesn't cost anything. Obviously, it's going to be very restricted and constricted, but it also doesn't cost anything. But the free and the shared, both of these are sharing resources in shared virtual machines. Now, you never directly deal with the virtual machines, but of course there's a virtual machine running underneath of this. And these basically work like websites in IIS, where you define your website, you send it up to Azure, but it's just running like you had a bunch of different websites in a single IIS service. All right? And the free, of course, is going to be very limited. It's not particularly customizable. The shared version, obviously not quite free, pretty cheap still, and it doesn't have bandwidth, as much bandwidth and CPU time limitations, and it's more customizable. Now, as soon as you get to the basic, standard, and then premium, you're looking at running these on dedicated virtual machines. All right, and a couple things. First of all, you have reserved instance for multiple web applications. So you get the tier, you get the basic tier, for example, and then you can have multiple web applications, but they're your web applications. You're not sharing this with anyone else. So you have more control over what's running on that. Obviously, you're going to have more resources, and that's true as you go through each one of these tiers. The premium has far more resources available, as you would expect, than the free tier does. All right, as you get farther up, very important thing here, the standard has support for auto scale. And that, I think, is something that is particularly important. So standard and premium are going to give you auto scale capabilities. Do understand that when you auto scale, then your cost is going to go up. Of course, if you're scaling out to 4 instances, that's going to cost you more than if you're running on 1 instance. With the premium, again, everything is at a higher level. Also, the premium is really interesting. It supports something called App Service Environment. By and large, when you're running a web app or any of the app series, web apps or logic apps or API apps, all of these are very abstracted away from the infrastructure level, right? You don't have any kind of direct access or control over the virtual machines. You can scale it, but other than that, you really don't interact with the virtual machines. The app service environment gives you more direct interaction with the virtual machine, more control, more configuration, as well as more configuration over the networking capabilities. So those are your tiers. Again, I know that's a very vague description of those. You need to know they exist. You definitely want to take a look at what each tier provides. And as I said at the outset of this topic, you want to make sure that you are periodically reviewing that, because features will be added, and features tend to migrate, not always, but they'll tend to migrate from, say, not necessarily premium, but premium or standard, and you'll see them migrate up to the less expensive tiers as certain features may become more mature.